So, hello to all that who are watching this video. I recently wrote a LinkedIn post asking if any fresher is looking out for a mock interview. I said I'll be open to take mock interview. A lot of people have registered. I have planned to take a lot more interviews, and today with me I have Saurav. So he registered in that particular form, and he will be doing a fresher front end kind of an interview. It's going to be a real interview. There is nothing that we've already discussed about question or anything. How a typical interview would happen for a fresher with respect to front end. Same questions will be discussed in this. So please watch the video till the end. And Saurav, first of all, welcome you to my channel, Uncommon Geeks.
Yeah, thank you.
Saurav, let us start by your introduction. Tell me about yourself because this is also another important interview question. So introduce yourself and then we can get started with the question and answers. Yeah.
Okay, so hi all. I am Saurabh Sen, an undergraduate in computer science and engineering from Gyan Ganga Institute of Technology and Science. Currently, I'm in a fourth year, and I started my web development journey with basic technologies like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and later on moved toward the JavaScript libraries and frameworks, which are like ReactJs and Next.js. I've also have some hands-on experience on React and Next, and also did some couple of internships using these technologies, and also worked on some projects, live projects, and currently I'm looking for the internships and full-time roles.
Great, Saurav. And Saurav is already actually interning at Reliance Geo. So, which is I'm very happy because people in pre-final year and final year getting internships is a good sign. Okay. So, Saurav, now without wasting further time, let's get started. Okay. So,
Yeah.
let's start with the extreme basics of the web development, Saurav. Okay. I'll ask you one very
Okay.
basic question. So, let's say you are opening a website, for example, now google.com. You entered google.com on the search bar of the browser and hit enter. Can you tell me what all happens in the background to get that content and show it on the screen?
Okay. So initially, if we talk about what is Google, Google is a search engine which is used to rank the website. So when we are typing something like example like Apple or something, so it get our search query is get to that Google server, and
Correct.
then Google process our query and generate some results, and then displays these results, and send those results to our browser, and then our browser parse it and shows the UI.
Got it. So there are two parts to it, sir. What you said is like how Google search engine would take the input
Right.
and give the result. My question is, it's not google.com. Any website that you search in the that search bar and hit enter, right? After that, what would happen? It's not just the Google, any website for that matter. You hit enter, right?
Okay.
What will browser do to get the data?
Okay, so imagine ourselves as a client, and when we search something at the URL, it gets it's a request to the server, and then server process the request and then respond back to our client.
Correct. So this is a very high level, Saurabh. This is not wrong. But do you know in depth, as soon as you hit enter, what will happen, where the request will go, what it will do, like that?
I think the browser first parse it the request and query, and then it sends a request or like a HTTP request to the server, and then I think it
Correct.
responds.
Correct. No, I'll give you just an overview, maybe little bit of a hint I'll give you. See, the first thing that happens is the DNS, domain name system, correct? So where I think you might have studied in your final year that computer networks one or two, where basically we humans will understand the string or alphabetical English kind of a domains, correct? Google.com. On system, there is nothing called google.com, correct? There is just the IP addresses which are there. So first the request goes from a browser to a server, okay, where this IP address to name to IP address mapping happens. Okay, then whatever you explain is correct. It goes to a dedicated server, gets the result, etc. With a lot of concepts involved in this, it's not that straightforward. There is a concept of resolver, there's a concept of authentication, private IP, public IP. So all may not be asked to a fresher level, but if you are a web developer, this is one of the primary thing to know in depth. Okay, so there are a lot of
Okay.
videos on this. You can just check how HTTP works, HTTPS works, how a request gets processed. So just spend some time on all of that. Okay, I'll ask you
Sure.
just one question on the networking aspect, as entire web development actually happens between the connection between client and server, correct?
Yeah.
Do you know what is TCP and what is UDP?
Yes. These are the protocols for request and response.
Correct. So do you know the abbreviation of TCP?
Yeah, it's transmission control protocol,
Correct.
and you stand for um, uh,
I'll give you hint.
datagram.
P
It's a
stands for protocol.
okay. It's something like a datagram protocol.
Correct. It's user datagram protocol.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Do you
user
know the
datagram.
difference between TCP and UDP?
Actually, the main difference is the connection, which is like TCP is connection,
Definitely.
establish a connection, and UDP is connectionless.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely. So now I am not sure whether you worked on any application, but there's a common sense kind of a question that I'm asking. You know what is TCP and you know what is UDP. You also know basic difference, connection oriented and connection less.
Yeah.
So given an application they ask you to build, when you would use TCP and when you would use UDP.
Okay. So basically, when we want some kind of real time kind of feature,
Hmm.
like a real time video call, so then in that case we use UDP,
Got it.
and when we want some like something some kind of messaging or another kind of transmission, then we use TCP.
Got
Where
it.
we don't care about like uh, loss of packets.
Yeah. I mean, your answer and your explanation is quite contradictory. See, you said TCP is connection oriented, UDP is
Yeah.
connectionless. So now you will use UDP for a video call, correct?
Yes.
That's what you said. TCP where you will use is not TCP. Any example you know where exactly you would use TCP?
Um, we
No worries.
I can't remember
No, no problem.
right now.
See, what you said is not wrong. I'll just correct, considering you yourself in the audience. See, in interview, every question that you tell which is wrong will not be corrected. But I am just using this opportunity to help you and the candidates also. Okay. Generally, it is at the end when if you have any doubts, you can ask and that will get answered. Okay. See, TCP and UDP, what you said is correct. TCP is connection oriented, UDP is connectionless. And the example that you gave for UDP is also very right. So where basically the things like a video calling, correct? So like now we both are connected over the Zoom. So in this particular video call, let's say some amount of packets are lost. Like there's small microsecond when whatever I spoke is not listened to you. Still, there is no problem. The video and the recording would go on. Correct. So that's what we call the UDP. You can use UDP there, where some packet loss is not so much difficult, so much important. This also, for example, you're doing WhatsApp video call. There also, if some packets lost, there is no problem. Correct. But when do you use TCPs? When there is a connection oriented and the every no packet loss is allowed. Correct. For example,
Okay.
you are a YouTuber, you are uploading a video to YouTube, correct? That time some packets cannot be lost. Like you want all of your video to go there, correct? Or for example, you're using a file upload, file download protocols. Whenever your file transfer protocols, like Gmail, you are sending a video to somebody else. Some portion of the video cannot be lost. Correct. So in those scenarios, you'll use TCP. See, these are very essential. Why I'm asking. A lot of front-end developers just start with HTML and CSS. It's not like that. The fundamentals are actually from the protocol. Correct. TCP, UDP, the transportation, the computer networks, and all of that. Okay. Now I'll ask you a few basic questions on the web. Then we'll go to a small implementation in React also. Okay. So tell me, let's start with the extreme basics of JavaScript. Okay. So JavaScript is a single-threaded interpreted programming language. Am I right or wrong, sir?
Yeah. Right.
Correct, correct. So see, there are a lot of languages, Saurabh, which are on the market, like Java, C, C Sharp, C++, etc. They're all multi-threaded programming languages. JavaScript, on the other hand, is a single-threaded programming language. Correct. So I mean, whether you worked on those languages or not, I'm Java or C Sharp, everyone would know multi-threading will give a lot of advantages. Like parallel processing would happen, and a lot of things becomes parallelized, and the system process the things much quicker. Correct. So you know any idea why JavaScript is single threaded and not multi-threaded?
Okay. So basically, if we start like JavaScript is a single thread.
Mm,
What single threaded means? Single thread means it executes one task at a time,
mm,
not parallel processing. So the advantage we can say is like our tasks execute one by one, and the developers who is working get the exposure of that code. That okay, so this is working. I think that's one reason, and another reason can be like uh, there's something called what we say like uh, the task is scheduled one by one, and everything happens one after the other. I think that could be another reason.
sure, sure. What you're saying is not wrong, but you read more about it. Okay, this is the fundamentals. Okay. Now, um, as I said, JavaScript is also interpreted programming language. Correct? Do you know what is interpreted programming language in general?
Okay, so interpreted programming language is like one line executes and then other, and
Correct.
compiling whole code is get compiled and then the runs happen.
Absolutely. I've asked this question to people with 5 6 year experience. They wouldn't know. Good that you are aware of it. Okay. And also JavaScript is a loosely typed languages, not a strong typed language. C++ are
Yeah.
strong typed languages. JavaScript is a loosely typed programming language or weakly typed programming language. Do you know what is the difference between strongly typed and weakly typed programming language?
Okay, so let's say we want something called something variable declaration or something in
Mhm.
other language or in JavaScript. So
Mm.
in JavaScript, what we do is we don't define the type
Correct.
or something. Let's say we have some string or a number or anything boolean. So we can store in a single variable. And in other languages like C++ or C sharp, anything, there are like there uh, they includes type checking also. Like if we want to like store an integer, then we need to use that int keyword. So loosely type language means there are no restrictions of
Correct.
like a type.
Absolutely. Absolutely right, Saurabh. Actually, sense that you have a very good fundamentals. What you're saying is absolutely right. Loosely typed are those programming languages where the type is not defined. Like data type is
Yeah.
not defined. So let X can be anything, correct? It can become int, string, or anything. Whereas a strongly typed language, it's int X. X is only int now. X cannot become float at the runtime. It is always the int, correct? So good. But do you have any idea why JavaScript is weakly typed and not strongly typed? What you said is
Uh,
about weakly typed is right. My question is why it is weakly typed and not strongly typed.
I think the reason can be to give more powers to the developer, like more flexible kind of thing.
Correct. No, that could be one. So that is see language one level creating a language. What aspect you are saying is definitely consider how we can make it easy for the developer. Correct. But there is also another very important aspect on the architecture point of view. Do you see any why from the architectural point of view JavaScript is a weakly typed language?
Um, I can't remember
No
right
worries.
now.
I'll tell why it is weakly typed language. See, JavaScript doesn't run on a system like C, C++, or Java. Correct? JavaScript technically built for running on a browser, so it doesn't directly interact with the system hardware. Correct? So whenever a language like that is created, which is not directly interacting with the hardware, correct? So and what happens is these are all running in the browser, so they are not having a direct access to the memory. So if it is strongly typed int x, correct? So whenever if you do int text, that also there are two reasons. Whenever you write like int text in the browser, there is no guarantee that much memory is allocated to it from the hardware because it's running on the browser, correct? So because of this dynamic type allocation, so the JavaScript engine can make sure so this kind of memory can be picked, whatever is available right at that point in time can be picked and allotted, and later it can be cleared also. Okay, that's one of the main reason why JavaScript is weakly typed. There are a lot of other reasons also why it is weakly typed. Please read, you and the audience both I'm telling. Okay, now let's get a little in depth of the JavaScript concepts, Saurabh. Okay, so tell me what are closures in JavaScript.
Okay, so closures means function bounding to its uh, outer scope or a lexical environment. So when we call the inside function, so it remembers the outer variables and methods.
Correct, correct. So in a function having access to the lexical environment of the outer function can be called as closure. Correct.
Yes.
This is the right definition. What you're saying is not wrong. Try to have a proper definition so that there is no cross questions to that. So that's one. So now give me one practical example why you, or where you can use closures.
Okay, so um, imagine we want some DOM manipulation
Mm,
and we have something called paragraph and we want that paragraph to change according to our conditions.
mm,
So whenever some condition changes, we want some paragraph to change.
mm,
So and we have a function and it has some expensive calculation in it. So when we call that function with the DOM manipulation feature, so it execute that expensive calculation every time.
mm.
If we create a closure with that function, so we can like avoid that expensive calculation and we can achieve our feature.
Got it. Sure. there are more examples that can be given. You can read definitely. Now let's get into slowly some of the React concepts. Okay, this I'm telling to Saurabh and all the audience who are watching. So if you're a fresher, so much of in-depth React would not be asked. So some basics they would touch on, and just some small puzzle can be asked in most of the product and the service-based companies also. Okay, so why do you think React has advantage over the basic JavaScript or basic vanilla JavaScript HTML? What are the advantages of React JS? Why somebody should use it?
Okay, so let's compare with the uh, basic things. Okay, so let's have some. Let we want to some build some applications. So in JavaScript, we have to write some code, extra code for that some feature. Like imagine we are like building a card, so we want some state management. So for that state management, we need to write code in vanilla JavaScript to achieve that functionality. While if someone uses the React, he gets these kind of pre-built features like we can use context API or Redux for state management. So
Correct.
and there are other advantage also like the component based architecture and also some like they are also provide like routing and other kind of stuff.
Great, great, Saurav. So these are all true. Okay. See, but the very basic quality of React that makes React to be choosable. So whatever you are saying, all the things can be done in vanilla JavaScript also, correct? Because ultimately everything is actually done in vanilla JavaScript only, correct? See, one main concept that everyone, you and the freshers need to know is the reconciliation. Okay, reconciliation is also called reconciliation. So that's the core difference, because that is what makes a React faster. Okay, I'm not telling what is reconciliation to you or the audience. Please go ahead and read reconciliation. It's a very very important concept. That's what the main foundation of React, why somebody should use the React. Okay, so now let us start with a puzzle. Okay, I'm just going to share a link with you, the chat. Please open this link in a fresh window of browser and present your screen. Okay, you can only
Yeah,
present that particular tab in the browser. Stop. Obviously, there is a lot of research that has gone into making this video. So please like the video and subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon if you're not already done so. And add a comment whatever you felt so far. The reason for that, I always say I have a only motto of I want to help the candidate to clear their interview. So if more likes, more comments, video becomes visible for a lot. Whenever it is visible for a lot, there is a high chance I get more subscribers and the followers. Definitely, there is a high chance I would be able to reach my cause very soon. Okay, so please like and comment about the video before watching the further.
I
Okay.
hope my screen is visible.
Yes, sir. Your screen is visible. Okay. Now, yeah, let's get started. But before starting, I'll ask you a few very basic questions of the React.js. Okay. So now, so which component is currently used in this example, Saurav?
Okay, so we are using app component.
Yes. So it's a function component. Correct.
Yeah, function based. Yeah.
Yes. Correct. So do you know what is the main difference between functional component and a class-based component?
Okay, so class-based component basically uses the uh, class-based things like constructors,
Correct.
receiver, and
Correct.
like setting state also have some different syntax in that.
Correct, correct. There are a lot of differences, and eventually we are reaching a state where a lot of people have not used class component. Somebody like you was just starting, right? They might have started
Yeah.
itself with a functional component, and this question is not so usual now to ask the difference. Okay, yes. So React uses something called JSX, correct? So can you tell me what is JSX in React?
Okay. So JSX basically stands for JavaScript XML.
Yeah,
So if you want like to explain some beginners, so we can say that it's we are using JavaScript inside HTML.
correct. So do you see any advantage of using JSX over the plain HTML or something like that?
Um, I think we can do certain of things like uh, without changing the whole DOM, we can use some variables and keywords and like let's say we want something here,
Yeah,
and we can use some kind of variables here.
correct,
I think
correct.
can be an example.
Correct. What you're saying is correct. Otherwise, you would have actually you have to fetch an ID and append or change the values, etc. Correct. That is one,
Yeah,
but the little more also the advantages of JSX. Please read that. Okay.
yeah,
Now, see, I'm not asking so many questions on React, but I just want you to know how fundamentally you're strong in building the UI in React. Okay. Question is very simple, Saurabh. Basically, you need to create four input fields. Okay, the first name, the last name, email ID, and the phone number. Okay, and just one submit button. Okay, so now to start off with, let us keep it this way. You have to validate this form. Basically, first name and last name cannot be empty. Okay, and phone number has to be 10 digit. Email actually meet the regular expression of the email. Okay, whenever user clicks submit, you get all the values but that user has entered, and you will validate. And any error is there, let us just alert it, like invalid email ID. If there are more than one errors are there, like first name is also not entered and email ID is also invalid, then let us try to show whatever the first alert is, like first only first name is not there, then let us show that and stop. Okay, after the enter and hit submit, let us show the second error. This is what I want you to build.
Okay.
We would have around 10 to 15 minutes to solve this completely, Saurav. Okay, please get started.
Yeah. Sure.
Right? Yeah. We have last 5 minutes, Saurabh. See whatever you can. Isn't it huge state, Saurabh? Sure, sure. Let's just validate for the first name, Saurabh, considering the time constant. Let's see how you'll do. Okay. If first name is not there, you have to show the alert. Yeah. So it's triggering even before you click, right?
Yes.
Let's see.
So we can say that
Exactly. Good. You figured it out. Yeah.
now if we have nothing, then it is settled the
Good.
details.
Very good. Very
Yeah.
good.
reload. It will reload because like we haven't said that event.prevent default.
Exactly. Sure, sure, Saurav. You can stop sharing, okay? As we have
Yeah.
almost last 5 minutes now, we'll spend some more time on overall feedback that I want to pass it on to you. Okay, you can stop sharing. I'll also tell whether you're select or reject from my end. So, Saurav, that's what. Like I mentioned, whatever I'll just tell mistakes that you did in the problem solving. This will help you or also and the audience. First thing, uh, get little more clarity regarding the requirement. Interviewer themselves may not tell everything to start off, whether there is importance for the styling or not. Like you coded a very basic and very neat UI, but you did not ask whether the interviewer expectation is that or not. Correct. For example, he want a more stylish kind of a UI, but you did not ask. He also interviewer may not say this, and whenever you say that was the expectation, then he would ask, you did not ask what is the requirement. Correct. That's one. Second, this is maybe you know this, but some people may not know what is the regular expression to validate email. That's quite common, and all interviewers do not expect candidate to know that. So be vocal. Don't think like interviewer will feel bad or he will reject if I ask him to, can I search the email ID regular expression on the internet. Most interviewer will be fine with that because regular expression do not define you. Correct. Ask in such scenarios. Okay. Then coming to the functionality, whatever you did was good. So plan for the duration that you have. Like for example, you have like 10 minutes, right? So divide the deliverables into modules so that at least one module can be delivered. So only I ask you to stop at the first name. Correct. Every interviewer will not tell that. So you decide the code in such a way where at least one module can be catered in the given time. If something is not catered, still we can tell this is, we are able to give this much. Okay. So that interviewer happy not having, at least rather not having anything, interviewer is happy something is there at least. Correct. So plan in that way in the practical coding interviews. Okay. I'm done from my end. So tell me, how was the overall interview experience, Auro?
It was quite good. I learned a new tons of new things, like how to prepare and how to like organize myself.
Correct, correct, sir. So I always say this, not to you, to all the freshers. So don't start web development at the front end just from the point of the development. Start from the extreme fundamentals of network protocols and the understanding the language, so that you can build anything on top of it whenever it is required. Okay. Uh, sure, sir. That's all from my end. Nice talking to you. Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.